This month, my portfolio generated over $5,300 in income. But what surprised me wasn't the amount. It was where the income came from. Some positions paid more than expected, a few disappointed, and one holding is starting to become a much bigger piece of my income strategy. Today, I'll show you every payment, every position, and exactly where my portfolio stands right now. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Simply Money. Every month, I share the actual results from my income portfolio. Not hypothetical numbers, not backtest, but the real cash generated from the investments I own. This month, the portfolio produced just over $5,300 in income, continuing the journey toward financial independence through dividends and distributions. In this update, we'll look at exactly which ETFs and investments paid me this month, compare the results to previous months, identify the biggest contributors, discuss any portfolio changes, and see whether the income stream is continuing to grow. I'll also update you on total portfolio value, yield on cost, and where I see things heading over the next several months. Let's get into the numbers. All right, so those who have been on the channel before, you've seen this. This is our monthly update. This is our Dividend Growth Simply Money spreadsheet. If you'd like a copy of this, you can get a copy down below in the description at Buy Me a Coffee. All of our spreadsheets are available there. What this one does is you're able to put in your individual tickers, and then it will give you an income portfolio tracking, and I'll show you how that works in a little bit. For those that are new, I appreciate you joining us, and we do quick overviews. There are some videos on the playlist where you can see prior videos and updates of this, and you can get a deeper dive into this portfolio spreadsheet and how it works if you'd like to see that as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at each of the tickers, and we're going to start with SCHD because this month it did not pay anything because it is a quarterly payer. That always makes the monthly income go up and down a little bit because every 3 months we get the much larger income because SCHD produces that. Been in this since 2017, been holding and reinvesting. We go over this as well in more depth on other videos where I show you how the dividend, whether the distribution and reinvesting it, is put back in and how that has made this grow. A lot of people are a little hesitant with SCHD, even though it's done really well, because the last few years it's been relatively flat on its share price, albeit on 2026, it's up about 20% on the year so far. So it's having a phenomenal 2026. I like it also, not only because I think long-term it has a nice steady income and a nice steady growth, this yield on cost. As my investment is growing and the dividend is growing, being reinvested, that yield on cost is growing and it's up over 8% now. We won't go into depth on SCHD because it's not paid this month, but I just wanted you to see that. And that's a big portion of my portfolio on the income side of things. The next one we're going to look at is CHPY. This is a newer one since September of last year. It's done way better than I anticipated. It's an ETF that is all semiconductors, doing covered calls on the semiconductor companies that are in there, and semiconductors have just done fantastic. If you look at SOXX or SMH, those have done amazing. And so we're getting not only the huge upside of CHPY, we're also getting this wonderful 35-40% yield that it's been producing. You can see in September, about $9,000 invested, a couple small buys near the end of the year. It was in the $50 range and just been reinvesting distributions since. That's where we're at with that. I'll just show you these real quick. I want to get to the actual income part, so don't leave because that's what you're here to see. I will stop here and say this is not financial advice. This is for informational and educational purposes only. I share these for you to be able to see what back testing looks like, and I also share this in the real life for you to see what an actual portfolio looks like in these different holdings. And these are all being dripped for the most part, and those are just buying more shares and building that income as we work toward the time when we say, okay, we're done and we're going to live off of this. Not there yet, but we're building that up and we are excited to see where it's going. YBTC, one of the small positions I had, we are out of that now. It was about halfway through the month, so this will be the last time you see that on the channel. Same with blocks. That is a personal preference. I know I can hear some of the comments. Go ahead and leave them. Leave me your comments. Was it a mistake getting out of YBTC in blocks, in your opinion? And again, that'll be your opinion. This is my opinion, because what I always say is personal finances are personal, and everybody has to make a decision based on where they're at in life, what their goals are, what their risk tolerance are, all sorts of different things. And this just wasn't fitting where I wanted to go and what I want to be tracking and holding. And that is my decision to make, just like whatever decisions you make are yours. And we're here as a community. We share with one another ideas. We share data we find. We share things that we learn. And that's what the community is about, helping one another. So we're out of those two positions. Those who have watched the channel for a while, I don't have anything in here yet. I apologize. I have not updated JEPQ, GPIC, or GPICs. I do have some small positions in those, and you'll see the amounts here in a minute. I haven't put each of the different transactions in on this yet. I, just be honest, been very busy. You guys have been keeping me busy, updating the sheets with all your requests. I appreciate that, especially the portfolio planner. We're up over 250 tickers on that now because of all the requests, which I appreciate, because I want the tickers that you guys want. I don't want to just go and pick out a bunch of tickers and say, oh, I'll put those symbols in, and then hopefully people will like it. As you buy it, I put in the symbols you want. That way it's fitting what you need, and then you have the other ones other viewers have asked for as well. Let's come over to QQQI. This is one of the big income players. This pays monthly. So we're going to see how this has played out for us. It's doing very well, up between the yield and the appreciation, doing well. Same with SPYI. And then the good old experiment that we've had since July, which will be coming to an end here this coming July. We'll be pulling the plug. We're pretty flat on this. It's gone through so many changes with Ulti. They went from monthly to weekly, then they changed the underlyings and some of how they deal with things, and it's stabilized a little bit in the minds of people, but in my mind it has not, because it is still dropping slightly, albeit not as much as it was. It's stayed fairly flat, but this has been in an extremely bull market. April and May has been skyrocketing throughout the market, and for this to stay flat to me is just even more indication that it's not what I like. And that's what part of the experiment was. I did this for the channel. This was strictly a channel move for you guys to see that. I hope it helps you to see the impact it can have. Some people like it, some people don't. If you like Ulti, still in Ulti, leave me some comments down below. What are your thoughts on it? All right, now let's get into the actual income portfolio. What this chart does, if you do end up getting it, you would put your symbols here, and it would populate over here in the tabs. What you'll have is every time you put in an entry of a dividend and it reinvesting, it automatically updates over here. So you can just quick glance, look and say, how many shares do I have of each of these? What's the price of those ETFs? What's my estimated annual dividend? And it depends how, this one here, I have it set up, really depends on the type of ETF. Something like SCHD, I have it on the trailing 12 months. We hope it's going to grow. It has grown year over year for the last 15 years. So we're going to continue that, and it'll update. So it's going on last year's. So you can expect that you should at least get that amount and then maybe some more. But with other ones where the dividend is actually declining, like Ulti was, we go with a projection. What I did was I took the trailing 12 months, what is the average depreciation of that dividend, and then projected that forward, and what would 12 months of that forward with the same depreciation be. It's a little more complicated, but it gives me a little bit greater accuracy on what the future will be, because it's not going to keep paying the same distribution. Now, my amount paid out may be more because I'm accumulating more shares, and that's where that will offset it. But to keep track of how much is the distribution going to be annually, that can be really tricky on some of these. So there is no perfect way to do that, but that's how we've done it. So you can see the portfolio, the annual dividend distributions expected to be, give or take, around the 63K mark, around $5,200 to $5,300 a month. It has been doing really well. You can see on the portfolio, it's about a 10% yield at this current time. So that is the breakdown. Don't turn away quite yet, because this is where we get into see the exact week-by-week payments. And this is where a lot of people like seeing this. And we'll just go over this real quick so you can actually see what it looks like. If you come over here, now this chart is just mine. I don't share this one. This is what I use as, say, on May 4th, QLDY. And I apologize, I forgot to add, I do have QLDY. I have a position in there. It is on this sheet. I don't have a individual sheet. I need to add it with the GPIC, but it is right here, QLDY. This is one I just have a small position in, and I'm just taking those distributions and moving them around. It pays twice a week. So when the payment comes in, I might buy a little bit of QQQI. I might buy a little bit of SCHD, depending on what I think is on sale and undervalued. But it's paying twice a week, and I'm just using that. Again, you can see it's a very small amount invested there compared for my full portfolio. Let me go back over here. You get that payment, and this sheet, again, is just mine. I use personally for tracking. So I can look and say, okay, on this day, and I just enter the amount I got. Then I got another one from Blocks. So on May 4th, I got 2 payments of about $68 there. Then on the 5th, I got JEPQ, which is once a month, so I got that $185. Weekly, the next week, we got Ulti, we got GPIC, which is a monthly, GPIX, which is a monthly, and another QLDY. And then we got CHPY, our first weeks of CHPY at $303. So you can see my first week in May, $1,000 of distributions. Very exciting for me to see passive income. A lot of people talk about passive income, and I have a good friend. He just started doing rentals. He's got one for an Airbnb and one for a regular rental, and he's doing well with it, but it's not passive. He talks about having to go clean the Airbnb or dip into his profit by paying someone to do it. And it's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it's a great business. I'm not knocking it, and I'm glad he's doing it, and he's young and he's got the skill set to do it. But I will just say it's not passive. I like telling people, if you want passive income, that is a great source of income, but it's not passive. This to me is what truly passive is. Yes, I did need capital to get here, but that's the part of building your passive income. Over time, build your passive income. He's got passive income, but he's having to recycle a lot of that back into paying for the mortgage, paying for the insurance, paying for the taxes, paying for upkeep. So the profit margin is much smaller now. His yield on cost is much smaller now than it will be in 10, 20 years. When he gets that paid off, or however he does that, his margin of profit will increase. It's very similar to a portfolio that you build, that you put a little bit in, you drip it, and your yield on cost is going up. When I started investing, I wasn't getting this distribution like I do now. It's been time reinvesting, adding more to it. And now, though, it is a completely passive income. I do nothing. I wake up in the morning and I have income coming in. I sleep at night and I'm making money while I sleep. And that is truly passive. I could never touch this the rest of my life, and it's just going to keep growing and paying. And that's what I'm looking for retirement, is truly passive income. I'll do other things that require effort, like YouTube. This is not passive. There's some evergreen content. I may do something now and it continues to give me some passive income down the road, but I have to continually work at it and add to it and build it. So it's not truly passive, in my opinion. We can get into that. I'm going to do a video on different income streams that I have, just to encourage you in ways of finding ways of building your income. Anyways, second week here, you can see these different payments and what was paid out. That week was a little bit lower, still very healthy, $832. Then my favorite week of the month, week 3, because my monthly payers at the end of the month. The beginning of the month, I get JEPQ, GPIC, GPIX. Those are my smaller positions. They're once a month. As I build those up, my first week will be really healthy. And then my third week, where I have QQQI, SPYI, IWMI that pay the third week of the month, those are going to be really healthy as well. So now I'll have a first of the month and a last of the month income coming, along with all the weekly payers. I want you to see here, week 3, CHPY, $377. That was a really nice payment. Week 2, it was $384. So CHPY's been doing really great. And then you have your monthly payers. Like I said, $800, almost $900 there, $825 there, $180 there. And then we have several nice Ulti payments. And then look at this final CHPY payment, $409 for the week. That is just incredible. I want to go back a little bit. Let's go to February. Look at CHPY, $240, $244. I wasn't complaining about it. Look at it now, $308, $384, $377, $409. That's that compounding. I'm buying more shares as it drips, and I'm getting bigger and bigger weekly payments. So if I turn off the drip, I'm getting $400, $380 a week from that. For the month, there it is, the total, $5,353 for the month, passively. And I can look into each of the different holdings that we have up here and just see what each one paid for the month. Look at Chippy, $1,500. Now this is right here. I want you to see that's without SCHD. That comes next month, June. Can't wait. Look out for the update of that at the end of June, because SCHD is going to pay and all of these will pay as well. So when I add my SCHD in there, it gets really nice. We can come over here to the cumulative. You can see that last year total, you're looking at 40K. This year, after 5 months, we're already at 27.5. We're doing really good this year. And that's because you can see back in June, July, and August when I started shifting, I sold out a little bit of SCHD to balance it because it was getting very heavy. And I'm making my slow dollar cost averaging into the income portion. So I have my growth portion. I don't touch that. Don't plan on touching that other than adding to it. And then I have my income portfolio, which I share here on the channel, which is growing and I'm adding to it. I'm dripping into it, but I shifted into more of the income focus to be able to prepare for that using of it and not having to, when I say, okay, now I want to retire, I have to sell. And if the market's down, I have to wait. So it's a dollar cost averaging a little bit at a time. And SCHD was very heavy for me. And purposely for the time I had held it, I'm very glad, even though it's taken off this year, I'm still very glad that I have done that. With SCHD, we're at 5,000, then we're at 5,400. But look at these payments without SCHD back then, $700, $800. Now, between SCHD, you can see a non-SCHD month, 5,200. This month, 5,300. Last month, 5,500. And look what we had with SCHD. Even though we've sold some of it because we've added these other positions, look at that, $7,600, $7,200. What's your prediction for June right here? When you add all of my individual positions and then you throw SCHD in there, throw some comments down below. What do you think we're going to hit? Do you think we'll hit 7.5? Do you think we'll hit the 8K? That's my next goal, is to hit 8K in a month. Do you think we'll hit that? Leave me your thoughts. What do you think of some of the moves? Getting rid of YBTC, BLOX, adding in GPIC and GPICs. Added those a couple months ago prior to getting out of YBTC and blocks. Those have been in there a little bit, but I just wanted you to see this update. Share with me your thoughts on that. What moves are you making? And stay tuned. We got some good videos coming out. I got one with a new sector I really think you need to be looking into, so be staying tuned for that. I think it's going to give semiconductors a run for their money, and that should be coming out soon as well. If you're not, hit that like and subscribe button so you're notified. Hit the notification bell so you're notified when new videos come out. And I appreciate all your support. We'll see you next time on Simply Money.